folks. My name is Daron Sutton, and we're glad you found us on Perfect Game College Baseball, where we've got two great conversations this week. Brian O'Connor, of course, in 2015, took Virginia to the College World Series finals and won it all, an incredible part of college baseball history, this program. But he's got a unique fall because he's got eight transfers through the portal. He's got 12 freshmen. That's 20 players that are brand new to putting on the Cavaliers uniform. I can't wait to see how things are going for him, how he plans on handling it. Great conversation with Brian O'Connor. And when you think about Gary Henderson, you really do think about what he is hoping to do at Utah, what he has done in the last year with some big series wins. But you also think about the year he stepped in at Mississippi State when they needed him most, took them to the College World Series, took them oh so very deep, was a National Coach of the Year, developing young pitchers at Kentucky through the way, at Oregon State when they won the College World Series in 06 and in 07. Yeah, you think about the resume of Coach Henderson, he will join us as well. It stops at Utah and Virginia on this week's Perfect Game College Baseball. It's right now. One of my favorite stops is always to talk baseball at Virginia with Brian O'Connor. There's honest answers. There's so much success, and there are expectations. And I think as a dad, folks, what I always get excited about, there are expectations baseball-wise, young man-wise, and academics-wise when you play for Virginia. And Brian spends time with us now. Brian, thanks for spending time as you guys roll into the fall. We really appreciate you being a guest on this show.
Absolutely, Daron. It's a pleasure. Hey, listen, I've been around Perfect Game for a long, long time. My college teammate Tyson Kim, the Ford family, and everybody. This Perfect Game organization's been in my blood for a long time. So.
Well, good. We appreciate it. Those are all warm names to my heart, too. Good men, and I'll include Betty Ford and a good, strong woman behind the scenes. So, Brian, what's fall like for you? I mean, every year it gets different. You've been around this enough to have nearly 900 wins, chasing that 1,000 mark at some point, but you've been around it long enough to feel like each fall maybe feels different. This year, what has fall been like as you get things ramped up for you?
Wow, it's a great question. Thank you. It is different. It's different, Daron, because we have the largest amount of newcomers to our program that we've had in my 20 years here. We have 20 new players. It's the most we've ever had. And I know there's college baseball programs across the country that have had more than that previously, but it's the most we've ever had. We have 12 true freshmen and then 8 transfers that are coming in. So, there's a lot of new things I'm sure you've heard throughout college baseball the last year or so with transfers and the portal and whatnot. So it's been fun. We started about 10 days ago of our full fall baseball, and we'll run all the way up till about Halloween. And, it's just been an exciting first 4 or 5 weeks here, just having so many new faces. And certainly we're proud of the tradition that we've had here and have built. But now we have 20 newcomers that are, focused on learning that every day and learning from the guys that are returning players to keep that standard of our performance on the field at a very, very high level. So it's been good. It's a lot of time, teaching the basics, and as we do early in the fall, and make sure that they're getting acclimated to this level of college baseball and what our expectations are. And it should be another fun, great year for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I noticed that list. I'm always keenly aware of your freshmen because we end up seeing them the year before they head to you, guys like Jack O'Connor and Bradley Hodges and Cullen McKay. But then the transfers too, from Coastal Carolina and VCU and Elon and Army and Georgetown. And how have you grown with that and adapted to that? It's new to all of us. You certainly, as a successful head coach, have to be right out front on the cutting edge. But these seem like, learning about all these young men, they come with talent, and they're all, if I'm to read between the lines, come from pretty darn good academic institutions as well. For you, pulling together those 8 transfers and the right fit had to be a unique process for each one of them.
Daron, it is. It is unique. And I think every school is unique on how they are able to handle it. Being in an elite academic institution, as we are here at Virginia, the transferable credit hours and things like that can be a challenge here. So we need to find the right young men that are in line with what our institution wants. So we just can't get everybody out there that's in the portal. The transferable credit hours are critical. The graduate student transfers are a lot easier. We have some really fantastic graduate programs for somebody looking to play their last year and get a graduate degree here at UVA. So that's very, very attractive. But the normal transfers that still have eligibility as an undergraduate can be challenging here. So it's time consuming to sift through it and determine which ones are the right fit for you. Daron, I've always believed our bread is buttered by the development of the high school player. That has been our foundation, will continue to be our foundation here, is identifying the young player and then bringing him into your program and having him mature and develop as a baseball player along, and then move on to professional baseball. And that will continue. Even though the portal has changed some things for us, our foundation will still be the development of the young high school players, those guys you mentioned. But when you lose great players, as we did off our pitching staff and some of our position players, it is nice to know that you can go out there and seek some players that have some season. We've got a center fielder here by the name of Ethan O'Donnell from Northwestern that had great experience there in his first 2 years, was looking to make a change, and he decided to come here, and he's an elite level player, and as are other guys as well.
It's interesting when you talk about the evolution of taking a high school player, developing them as athletes and men, and then sending them off. You had 6 pitchers sign, whether it be through the draft or as a free agent this summer. And so there's one that remains that I'd like to check in on. He's got a place in my heart selfishly. His name is Jake Berry. We got to know him through his journeys as a man, what he went through as a very young man, beating cancer, and now who he is. He's one of the tallest men in the room anytime he's there. But what's the very latest from your perspective, Coach, on Jake Berry, the left-handed pitcher?
Jake's doing great. Thanks for asking about him, Daron. He's doing really well. Really started to come into his own last year, in his second year in our program. By mid-season, injected him into the starting rotation and did a really nice job, and finished the year strong for us. Went up to the Cape Cod League, really had a fantastic summer up in the Cape, and he's just continuing to mature. I don't want to say grow, because I don't think he can go any farther north, but he's just maturing his ability to handle situations in a game, his consistency of his pitches and things like that. So we're looking for him as a junior this year to take that next step forward and really be one of those key anchors of our pitching staff, coming into the spring.
It's interesting. I mean, who he is. I mean, obviously he's got a chance to be a pro. That may be what's next for him, right?
I think it is, for sure. I'm always fascinated by these guys that have this kind of height, but they also have agility. Anytime you see, Daron, I'm always a little skeptical of anybody that's above 6'5", right? Because your concern is, can they move around? Can they handle the bunt? Can they control the running game? Most importantly, can they repeat their mechanics to be consistent as a pitcher? And this guy can. He moves around. Yeah, personally, I think he moves around like a guy that's 6'4", and so that's served him well. And I think he's got a bright future in this game, and I think he's just going to continue to improve and improve.
Yeah, I was 6'5", still am 6'5", and I had a legendary college coach, QV Lowe, won more than 1,000 games, and he couldn't get me to tie my shoes and do bunt defenses at the same time. So I understand that. It is amazing what he's able to do. We also like to check in on Casey Sake, the talented New Yorker, who is heading into just his sophomore year, had a really good first run at it last year. How has he evolved, Coach?
I'll tell you, he's evolved really, really well. He had a terrific first-year campaign for us, was in there pretty much every day other than a short spell in the middle of the season. He's transitioned. He came to us as a third baseman, but a good athlete that can play some different positions. Ended out settling in for right field for us last year. Has really turned into a terrific outfielder. Would have no problem moving back into the infield as well. But I'll tell you, this guy's got lightning in his bat, Daron. Like this fall, he's a lot more physical. He has a presence about him. I just think he's going to have a monster year for us and really help lead us in the middle of the lineup. He's got power. He's put the ball in play more this fall than he did last spring. He's just really, really maturing in our uniform, and I'm excited for the next 2 seasons to see what he's going to become.
Coach, tell us what goes on with the Orange Blue World Series, and there's a lot of dates you have on the calendar. I'm hoping that you'll tell me maybe some fans can come out and watch you guys battle. I know you have Maryland and you're going to ECU as well on that calendar, but what do you hope to accomplish? What are the expectations? Tell me a little bit about, for our national audience, the Orange Blue World Series.
It's something that we've always done since I've been here for 20 years, and it's taken different shapes depending on the year. This particular year, we're going to finish up in the last 2 Saturdays playing our 2 allowable scrimmage games, Maryland at home and at East Carolina, 2 teams that had great years last year. So that'll be fun. But prior to that, we play a World Series, and some years we play a 7-game World Series with the same teams. I did a little bit different this year, that we're actually playing 4 different 3-game series and change the teams up each week, and give them a chance to compete in 3-game series as how our game is played, and so try to replicate that a little bit. So throughout October, leading up to the 2 games at the end of October, fans are going to have a chance to come out and watch our guys play. It's really cool, with the environment that's been created here over the years. Even when we play these scrimmage games, we get nice crowds that come out. We have the concession stand open. It's a great opportunity in the fall as we're in the Professional Baseball World Series for fans to come out and watch a little baseball. And particularly this fall, they're going to get a chance to see 20 new players wear our uniform. And we've got some fanatical fans that love coming out and sitting in the stadium and learning the new players. So it's an opportunity for them to do that. And then we always add a little twist to it, Daron, is there's got to be consequences. There's got to be rewards for winning games. And so we have a point system that we put together depending on how they finish on the teams they're on. And then you get a certain amount of players when the series is over. They get steaks versus hot dogs. Certainly, that's pretty common. But also last year we introduced that they get a certain amount of points for winning, and then they get to order gear, right, from Nike. And so they always love that, get a chance to get a little bit of extra gear on them. And so we'll implement that as well this fall.
Oh, I love it. That sounds fun, Coach.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm going to leave you with this, and this is a totally personal aside, but it's with one of your alums. And in this very same unique studio that we brought you into, Chris Taylor spent so much time with us last fall talking about his journey with you guys, journey beating UCI in the walk-off, his journey being a high school player, his pride in being from that part of the world. This isn't really tying to this year's team, but a guy like Chris Taylor has got to make you proud of what you do. But even when he has an up and down year like this year, it was such a memorable and impactful conversation. I thought I'd share with you how great Chris was with us in this platform.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. The humility of Chris Taylor is impressive, and he was a warrior here in our uniform for 3 years. You reflected on the big hit that he had against UCI here in this stadium to send us to Omaha. Certainly that's one of my great memories as being the coach here. But I love Chris Taylor. He started in right field for us as a true freshman at Auburn the opening weekend of the season, his freshman year, and slowly moved to being the shortstop, and just continued to develop in the grit and the perseverance that he's had in his career, in his pro career, to end up being where he's at today is really special. And I'm proud to announce to you, Daron, that we're doing a significant expansion to our weight room here at the stadium. It's moving. We're going to now have a 4,000 square foot weight room that only trains our baseball players underneath our stadium. And in a very short time, that weight room is going to don the name of Chris Taylor's weight room. So yeah, I'm proud of that because he means so much to our program. I know our program means a lot to him, and he's just a great young man, and we're excited about what he's doing in LA.
Yeah, good for him giving back. Good for him. That's amazing. Yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you, Coach. I thought
Yeah.
that was a cool thing, and it seemed to tie together. Brian, have a great fall. We can't wait to see what happens with you guys in the fall with all these new players. A fun new challenge for you as a head coach and your staff, and excited for the 2023 season with Virginia.
Well, thanks, Daron. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Great things going on at Virginia. Thanks for spending time with us. We'll have more on Perfect Game College Baseball. Gary Henderson is the head coach at Utah, and you folks know I'm pretty open about it. I love me some Pac-12. That's my conference, and get to be the voice of the conference in all sports, and baseball's certainly my favorite in this conference, and Gary spends time with us now. Hey, Gary, thanks for hanging out with us, and greetings from Arizona up to Salt Lake City, and thanks for being on our unique show.
Well, thank you, and appreciate you having me on.
Tell me a little bit about, for you, how things have started in the fall this year. You took over the program last year was your first season. There were some great moments I want to talk with you about. Now you're putting your hands on more and more players that are your players that you have brought in, and just want to check and see for you how the fall has cranked up.
Well, it's gone well. We had a month of individual work, and then we're in day 4 of our 45-day window of team practice. We've gotten off to a good start, had 3 inter squads, and happy with where we are at this point.
So when I look back and I recall the series win against Arizona, USC, Washington State, Washington, explain to me how those were building blocks. I know you wanted, even more of those series wins, but if I take series like those last year, how are those building blocks as you look back to what you guys take forward?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is losing the Friday game against the Huskies and then being down 5-0 after the first inning on the Saturday game, and not being in a great spot, obviously looking at the weekend at that point, but coming back and winning the Saturday game and then winning the Sunday game and starting to develop a little bit of belief in the program and in the kids. And that was a good start for us at that point in time. Obviously beating SC in Arizona, something that they hadn't done a lot of around here, at least recently, was tremendous in terms of our confidence. Did not have a good showing in Tucson 2 years ago, so to be able to come back this year or last year and get a conference weekend win was good again for the confidence of the kids in the program, and certainly a step in the right direction.
I've got to ask you about a couple of your players, certainly, that are a big part of what you have going forward. The first one's Landon Fry. When I see what he did last year in those 52 games, I see statistically how he impacted your team. What was his summer like, and what does he bring back? How important is he? Just a sophomore.
Well, he brings back, he had a good summer. He brings back a real feel to hit, a tremendous level of confidence when he's in the box, something that you hope starts to spread amongst our hitters. Plays the game with a low heart rate, a really good teammate, a guy that has gotten better over the summer defensively. Something that we're looking forward to is having him continue the offense and improve the defense, and he's certainly started in the right direction.
And how about TJ Clarkson? He has returned, yes, Coach?
Oh, he's back. Yeah.
And his 11 home runs. Where was he this summer? Where'd you guys have him?
TJ was in Virginia and had a good summer. Did not do any pitching. We'd like to maybe get him involved a little bit on the mound. Had some tightness in the forearm both his first and second year here, so he's back to being 100% healthy at that point. He had 11 home runs, I think, sometime in March and finished with 11 home runs. So we got to get to a spot where we can continue the power production throughout the course of the spring. But good chance to see him at first base with Alex Beza gone. And really hopeful that he can continue to provide the power in the middle of the order.
Yeah, expound upon him a little as a two-way. I know you guys had him tossed a little bit. I can remember his earlier journeys as a pitcher as well. Expound upon who he can be as a pitcher.
Well, he can be pretty good as a pitcher. 2 years ago, he was in our the COVID season. Yeah, Daron, he was a starting pitcher for us. Got the 3 starts, I think it was. Had some forearm tightness, not an elbow issue. Just legitimately right in the middle of his forearm, kind of a unique situation, but he's 90 miles an hour, He's got an above-average changeup. We'd like to get him involved in that a little bit. He's like everybody that's a two-way player that I've ever coached. They love that bat, and we appreciate that about him. And he has legitimate power. We just got to get him to relax, cut down the stride length a little bit, get the barrel out front, and continue, on occasion at least, to hit the ball over the right fielder's head. But he could help us on the mound. There's no question about that.
2018 National Coach of the Year is Gary Henderson as we connect with this Utah program. I'm curious about Micah Ashman. So Micah, 27 and a third innings, 29 strikeouts, 6'7" left-hander. What role does he take for you in the spring? What role do you hope he takes for you in the spring?
Well, I'm hoping that he forces me to pitch him about 2 out of every 3 games. He's a really, really good athlete, tremendous athlete. He's developed quite a bit since he's been here. We're still working on the secondary pitches. He's fastball primarily, 89, 92, sits in that range. He's developed some life on it. He gets above average mileage out of his fastball. He's got some swing and miss in there. Working really hard to develop the breaking ball, the put away pitch, something other than just throwing it by people. But he's a really good athlete. He's a fun kid. He's an outstanding teammate. We like him to continue getting better.
Gary, I see some recruits, some freshmen coming in. Not sure if they all made it to campus, but I see some Canadians. I saw initially 3 on the list of commits. Did you have some Canadian players make it to campus this fall?
We did. We've got Anson McGorman and Chase Marshall. Chase was with the national team in Tampa during the World Championships. Anson's with us as well. 2 right-handed pitchers that right now are both nursing some minor forearm. Believe it or not, we've got a couple more forearm injuries, but that's what they are. That's what they're in the middle of right now. They're both really talented kids. Good makeup. Again, 2 really good teammates. Looking forward to getting them healthy and getting them in the middle of our fall workouts.
Hans McGorman, one of the top players in British Columbia. Hey, Caden Carpenter and Garrison Sumner talking about players that are the number 3 and 4 players in the state of Utah. Did they make it to campus?
They did. You're talking about Utah County kids. Both come from about an hour south of here. Garrison's a right-handed pitcher. Super young man. Really impressed with what I've seen so far. Got life on the fastball. Kind of a reliever at this point for us, but a guy that is going to develop into a really strong pitcher at Utah. Initially, we got interested in Caden as a 2-way player. Right now, he's just hitting. He's making some real strides in that. He's big, strong. In fact, so's Sumner. They're big, strong kids. We're really glad to have them in the program. Want as many of those Utah kids in the program as we can get. But Caden has made real strides over the summer and then this fall in hitting, and is a guy that we anticipate being really good in the outfield and good offensively as well.
Final player I want to ask you about is Blake Whiting. I read a great article about him maturing through his mission, the time that he took away, now what he brings to you and maybe he shifts to a starter. I'm not sure, but he was a guy that pitched late games for you. Got to be important to have a guy like Blake as one of your lieutenants, right? As someone who can almost serve as someone who guides the younger players, like the players we're just talking about. But introduce us as a head coach to who Blake is to your program.
Well, Blake is a guy that went to Salt Lake Community College for 2 years, really talented, has well above average stuff from a college standpoint, was in the bullpen for us last year, as you mentioned. I would hope to leave him in the bullpen again this year. We'll see where that takes us, but he's got the pitches to be really successful at the end of the game. Daron, well above average slider, good velocity, well into the 90s. And he brings the maturity, as you mentioned, if somebody who's on a mission for a couple of years in the Dominican. He's seen a little bit different part of life than most of our kids have. Older, and hopefully can provide the leadership that you would expect somebody of those experiences to be able to give you.
So well-traveled, so successful, Gary, throughout your career. It's an incredible resume. What are you enjoying most? And you served time certainly on the staff at Utah prior to that, so it's not brand new to you. What are you enjoying most about the challenges of building the program there to where you want it to be? What are some of the best parts about being in Salt Lake and being in the Pac? What are you enjoying most?
Well, I enjoy a lot of it. I grew up in Eugene, so I'm a Pac-10. Well, take me back a ways. We started as a Pac-8 fan, then we moved to the 10, and now we're Pac-12, back to the Pac-10 here pretty quick, I guess. But I enjoy the conference, understand the history of the conference. That part's been good. I love Salt Lake. It's a very, very easy place to like. My wife's happy here, so that's a plus. The university is outstanding, and it's a beautiful place. There's a lot of things to like about Salt Lake, and we're enjoying it quite a bit here.
Gary, thanks for your time. We really, really appreciate your insights.
All right. Thanks, Daron.
Gary Henderson and Brian O'Connor at Virginia, two great coaches, great histories, and insightful men on Perfect Game College Baseball this week. We'll see you next week on Perfect Game College Baseball.